It's my Gastineau and Iconic Sonics thanks the Swinomish Casino and Lodge, a great partner and a full-on entertainment experience located on Highway 20 just east of Anacortes. I was at the casino and lodge a couple of weeks ago and just had a great time. A Saturday night, we started out with a sensational dinner at 13 Moons. You know, the natural beauty and the stunning views of Padilla Bay that's enough. Add in the great meal highlighted with delicious flavors of the Pacific Northwest. I tried scallops with prime rib, a little surf and turf, if you will. It's a dining experience you'll be talking about until you return. Afterwards, we walked through the casino and played, enjoying 700 of the latest slot machines, blackjack, craps, roulette, pie gow, and keno. It was buzzing on a Saturday night. Just a great fun time at the Swinomish Casino and Lodge. Come play and stay with us. The Swinomish Casino and Lodge. More information at SwinomishCasinoandLodge.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700.
Truth Plus Media.
Welcome to another episode of Iconic Sonics. I'm your host, Mike Gastineau, and we're very excited today. We had planned from the start of this season to do a show that focuses a little bit on gambling because gambling is becoming more mainstream, gambling is becoming more legal, and gambling is going to be a financial underpin of a lot of what professional sports does as things move forward. Also, talk a little bit about how you can become a multi-billionaire by being a savvy gambler. And our guests today, a couple of good ones. Bran Feinberg is a professional gambler, a gambling expert, and a guy who has come at it from a very unique position. And Brad, as I understand it, you're also a University of Michigan alum. Is that correct?
I am a proud, graduate in 1993. I was there when the Fab Five was there. It's funny. It's interesting. Mike, people ask me who your favorite teams, and I hate to say this. It's funny. I was always a huge Philadelphia sports fan, but as I transitioned into becoming a professional gambler, one thing I learned was my fandom, and I respect your guys' show, the Iconic Sonics and always Seattle forever. And I wish I was more like that. Now it's like my favorite team is who I bet on that night. But the two teams I still let myself really do root for, University of Michigan and the Philadelphia 76ers. Those are my two soft spots. But now it's who do I have that night is for me what it is. But yeah, 1993 Michigan grad and proud of it.
Saul Spady is our other guest today, and Saul will represent the degenerate gambler side. No, wait a minute. That's not right. I don't know who wrote this in my notes. Saul is also directly related to this show, and we thank him and Dick's Drive-In Restaurants for their support. Creative Empowerment, Saul, is your agency. You've got a direct relation to Dick's in terms of handling a lot of their marketing, but also in terms of blood. And it's a cool thing for you. And you're also a guy who likes to gamble from time to time. Did I get all that right?
You got it all right. I own an ad agency. I help represent one of our sponsors who I help bring on board, Dick's Drive-Ins. They're a local burger company. We're always trying to advance Seattle culture, whether it's sports or music. And bringing back the Sonics is probably one of the most important cultural events that needs to happen in Seattle from my perspective. And I'm proud that my family agrees with me. We have a restaurant right outside the new arena, and I love the hockey fans, but I can't wait to see the green and gold back in there. But no, I totally feel that kind of concept of not wanting to gamble on the teams you appreciate, because it just seems like you always make a mistake or you want to take a risk on an upset. And you lose kind of track of at least the kind of system I depend on to try to at least break even, right? And I'd say that's my goal as I'm not a professional gambler. I'm trying to have fun, take advantage of, all the ESPN articles I've read and stay in touch with a buddy of mine, because in Washington, we can't gamble on our phones. So I'm more backseat gambling, if you will, but no one tracked me down for that. Hopefully they make sports betting legal on our phones in Seattle soon.
Brad, one of the things I find interesting about you is, and again, I think anybody who's ever made a bet, particularly when you win, you have that brief moment where you go, could I do this professionally? Could I just move to Vegas? That's what the old mindset was like, could I move to Vegas and just be a pro gambler? Now it'll be, could I just sit at my home as it gets legalized? And you actually, you took an interesting route that many people would relate to. It kind of started for you with you're betting from time to time, but it was fantasy sports, right? That kind of tripped your trigger into getting into bigger gambling.
Well, it's interesting, Mike. From the time, my story is an interesting one. When I don't know if you remember this, I want to say I was in, God, maybe 7th grade. And do you remember those sheets, Mike, where they would give it out? They'd say, pick 3 win, and you have to circle them like numbers 17, 21, and 28. You know what I'm talking about? It would be these little parlay sheets that one of the kids from my junior high school ran. And I was like, oh my God, my eyes lit up. I can pick 3 for 3 ties lose. I remember that. And do this. And ever since then, I acquired like just a feel for it, a taste for it, and it became part of my, if you ever saw the movie Rounders, it said like, you don't choose your destiny chooses you. And for me with sports gambling specifically, I've always just had a unique talent for it. And just something I've always enjoyed. Now, one thing I will say, Mike, to all your listeners out there, I gamble to win money. And now that may sound like duh, but it really isn't. And what I mean by that is, I would say, Mike and Saul, for the far majority of gamblers, they gamble for action or for fun because they enjoy it. It's something to do. It's entertainment. For me, this isn't entertainment. This is how I make money. This is how I'm able to do things. This is what I do as my job. So for me, I'm not gambling. There's a game at 7:00. The game's on TV. I have to bet on it. The Monday Night Football game. I have to bet on it. I want to watch. I want action on the game. No, if I see an advantage for me, I'm going to make that bet. If I see something that I know is going to be a profitable bet over the long term, I'm going to make the bet. So what I would say to everyone listening out there is, it's nothing wrong if you just want to do this recreationally and have fun. Just stay within your means and enjoy it. But if you're actually really trying to make money doing it, it is a discipline. It is extremely time consuming. That is probably one of the other biggest misconceptions about being a professional gambler. Like, oh, you don't work. Trust me, I work, and I'm constantly I'm a slave to this stuff. So I would say it really is a big undertaking, but you can do it. And there's certain things that I do, which is a little different, Mike, which I'll get into, than what most, or at least a lot of gamblers do, which in my opinion gives me an advantage that others don't have.
And so you're kind of out there a little closer in the middle in terms of you don't bet to lose, but you're more of what Brad was saying, which you said you like to stay in touch with your friends and have some fun. But you also, I think most guys who do this regularly, at some point you go, okay, I'm going to put a little thought into this, maybe not to the level that Brad does as a pro, but you want to make sure you're as educated as you can be when you place a bet.
Well, I'll put it this way. I went to school in Southern California. And so, I started going to Vegas for my 21st birthday. And I think Vegas has gotten the better of me for a straight decade, and everything from blackjack to craps to, I think I started out being I bet UW beating USC. That was my first ever bet, I think, in college. And I figured out how to do it online. And of course, it was a huge win. And then I lost all of it in a week. And I was like, oh man, I got to stop, and waited 2 years and, got to Vegas and then got back into it, started to learn, as an entrepreneur, that I could, really teach myself to go home and work really hard as an entrepreneur because I was so bad in Vegas. And then honestly, this year I learned about parlays and started to figure that out. And that actually absolutely changed the way I gambled. It allowed me to not bet $50, but maybe to do 10 $5 bets and actually kind of lean into maybe a little bit of what Brad's talking about, which is, being knowledgeable, trying to find an upset that goes with, a big win, or maybe starting with easy wins to get the upsets. Cause now these apps are like, they give you cash outs. They allow you to bail out halfway through. In Vegas, Vegas was never so kind when I was younger. I'll say that.
Brad, you mentioned, and by the way, Brad is available on Twitter at Brad's Best Bets.
Yeah.
You said you're a little different. You are not a guy who does a lot, if any, sides.
Yeah.
And most of it, I'm not thinking betting. I think, I'm going to take, whoever. I'll take the Sonics tonight against the Lakers. But you have gotten much more into the live bets in games. And you talk about it, the way you approach this in terms of kind of a unique and different way than a lot of guys who are in your business.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Mike, very good question. Yeah, look, back when I was a lot younger, when we was introduced to gambling, it was, who do you like tonight, Cowboys or Giants, or who do you like, Sixers or Sonics, back in the day. Do you like the over? Do you like the under? Right? Or which side do you like? Well, it's almost like the way I would describe it is having TVs that weren't HD. It's like, it's such a long time ago. It's like we're in a different century now and a different world where, look, I try to deal, Mike, in inefficient markets versus an efficient market. And I will tell you, and Saul, same thing. When you're betting on UW versus Arizona in a college or USC in a college basketball game, when you're betting on the Super Bowl, the Bengals Rams game, when you're betting on Knicks versus Pacers in the NBA, whatever it is, when you're betting on that individual game, that is an extremely efficient market. And now there are people, guys, they can beat those efficient markets. You need to pit 52.38% just to break even at a minus 110 bet, okay? 52.38 to break even, which may not sound like a lot, but I'll tell you what, Saul, you track your bets. I have every one of my bets on my computer. Start betting if you're picking 100 straight games, how often you can go 53 and 47 over the course of over time. The answer is probably going to be not very much. It is extremely
Not betting
hard
my
to
life on that.
Yeah, it's extremely hard to go 53 and 47, which is really what you need to do to make money. So what I have learned is, and there are some people that, let's suppose an NFL game opens at 3 and they think that game should be 3.5 or 4. They'll lay the 3 and the line closes at 4. Well, that's going to be a winning better and they're going to make money because they are talented enough to know to beat the line and the line's going to move after they put in the bet. There are some people that are talented enough to do that. I mean, I have no ego. I'm not good enough at doing that. I cannot tell you if the line opens at 3, it's going to close at 4 and be consistently correct. I may be right more than not, but not consistently. So what I have focused on, Mike and Saul, is I like to do, live betting for sure, which is tremendous. Okay. But I really, really love doing the props. Okay. And the futures and the props, again, they'll post literally 1,000 props a day. I'm talking 1,000, not like hundreds. I'm talking they'll have every single player. They'll have backup point guards, rebounds, and assist total combined, his assist total. So let's suppose there's just this one, if they're putting up 1,000 of these and 990 of them are really good numbers, that's probably what it is, but there'll be 10 that are off. I will find those 10, and those are the 10 that I will bet. I will look at some, if one of a rotation player is the fifth man on the team is out, and maybe it means the seventh man is now goes from 20 minutes and now going to get 26 minutes, and they make his points, rebounds, and assists, let's say 18, and I think it should be 20 and a half. That's an advantage for me. Or if they make his rebounds 4.5, and I think it should be 5.5, I'll bet that over, knowing that it's off by 1. And being off by 1, when you're talking about a low number like 4.5 versus 5.5 versus, let's say, an NBA over under total of 232 versus 233 doesn't mean as much. But when you're talking such a small number, Mike and Saul, you can get big advantages. So I love focusing on the props. And then in terms of the futures, these sports books, and I hope it never changes, they don't update the odds for division odds, especially now when there's only like 25 games left in the NBA season. They're slow, shockingly slow, in updating these odds. They'll maybe update them once a week when there's only like 6-7 weeks left in the season. That's a horrible business model. But I'm constantly looking every single day at the futures, seeing, is there advantage here? Is there something that's off? Because maybe let's suppose there's 2 teams that are close in the standings and they're going head to head, and the one team is beating the other team. They may have set a line of each team winning the division at a certain price before that game, but after that game happens, and one of the two out of the top 2 teams playing, when one game wins, that's a 2-game swing, which is massive. So I'll look to bet that team that won the game before they switch the odds. And it's something that, again, if you monitor this and if you really make it your job and you want to do it, you can really make money. But the biggest advice I would give anyone listening here is have multiple sports books to bet at, because that will raise your IQ more than anything else. It's like if you go to buy a new car, right? And the guy tells you it's $30,000 for your car, and then the guy down the street say, well, maybe I can do it for $29,400. And the guy next to him's like, I could do $28,600. Well, because you shopped it, you could save $1,400. Or in gas, when you go to get gas and this one's $4 a gallon and the next guy next to the street is $3.88, you're saving 12 cents a gallon. So it's no different than sports betting, guys. It's the most important attribute I could ever give, giving yourself multiple outs to bet at, because if you do, it's almost in a way of taking away the big. It's the best advice I can give everyone listening.
Great piece of advice in there, Saul. And I want to ask you how much you do this. And I'd never thought of this. And I don't know if I bet enough that this would help me, Brad. But I know you're a big believer in, hey, track everything you do, and you'll start seeing things that you do know versus things that you don't know. Saul, do you pay attention like to a list of things that you've done over the years?
I mean, I don't have that because there's so many different sports books, and I'm not in a state that makes it easy to do online gambling like that. So it's really disparate for me. I might be in Vegas for a couple of days, or I might fly into Newark, and play some bets because I'm using the MGM Grand app in New Jersey. But like what really popped in my head that I'd love to talk about is really, it feels like you're just working off of human error, which when I think of my biggest wins, that is where I've gotten my biggest wins against Vegas, right? My story this year is I went to visit my buddy who needed to be moved in Colorado. I landed. I immediately, I think it was Michigan State was playing somebody, and I took a risk on that. It was an upset. And then I saw that Wazoo was like a 14-point underdog to ASU, and they've been going through all their coaching trauma, but the team was good, right? And ASU had been having some issues, and I just, they were a big underdog on that one, and I took a flyer, because I feel like Vegas does a poor job on Pac-12 teams, and it might just because this is my gut, but there just aren't. The biggest sports book that's putting wages in is Vegas, which is still a time zone away from the Pac-12. And then really you now have New York and New Jersey, and it really is still so focused on the other side. We don't have a lot of easy ways to place bets on the West Coast.
I got to tell you something, Saul, you said was very interesting. I've had it many times. Someone will come up to me and they'll say, Brad, that bet you gave out in your show, that was so obvious. And I'm like, that's the biggest compliment I can get. Like, that's what I want to hear. I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel and come across as freaking, John Madden or Hugh B. Brown as being some expert that I'm not. What I am looking at, and you said it's all like simple mistakes that just are obvious, that are just mispriced. I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel. I'm not trying to pretend I'm some genius, because I'm not. It's exactly what you said. I am looking for any inefficiency, any mistake, exactly a mistake, that something is just off that shouldn't be, as opposed to some great handicap that Brad Feinberg is coming up with. No,
we think Vegas is a machine, but they're not. They're
exactly.
Human.
And by the way, they're right far more than they're wrong. Okay. Again, I'm scourging thousands of bets to try to find a few. Okay. And that's what I'm doing constantly. And most of the times they're going to be correct. But now that they're trying to, Saul and Mike, actually do props for every single one of these games just to keep up with the Joneses, so to speak. Well, what's going to happen with that is did you guys hear about the Draymond Green scandal?
No.
It's a great story, and I think your listeners will enjoy it. Draymond Green, when Klay Thompson came back, as you know, Draymond Green has not played in the last 3 months or 2 months, whatever it's been, but he wanted to be back for Klay Thompson's first game in 3 years. It was very important to him. So it was announced on Twitter, I think about 10 minutes before the game, Draymond Green is going to start, do a foul, commit a foul, and then leave the game. Well, these sports books, and one of them in particular, lost, what I was told, like well over $10 million. They had Draymond Green prop bets up of Draymond Green points, rebounds, and assists, as if he was going to play a full game, as if he was actually going to play the entire game, not 5 seconds worth of playing. And they were taking parlays of, you could take Draymond Green, okay, his over-under assist is 6.5. Let's make it down to 3.5. And if you take under, you're getting plus 400. And then parlay that with under 2.5 points, getting like 10-1 odds. And these parlays paying 100-1 odds when they were all going to easily win. And it destroyed these sports books. They got killed because they were not up to the fact that Draymond Green, and they actually, one of the sports books tried to not pay their customers. They eventually did. But things like this, I'm saying, when you're trying to deal in such a massive, every single thing and have everything, you're eventually going to have a Draymond Green kind of thing happen, where one day you're going to get with your pants caught down, where you're not on Twitter, or the people you're relying on your lines, Mike and Saul, to post them, where they're going to be off for like maybe 5 minutes before they can adjust to it. And in those 5 minutes, it can mean millions of dollars that your company loses.
Brad, the show is Iconic Sonics, and we're of the belief that the Sonics are coming back. There's an arena now. All the signs would point to within the next couple of years, the NBA coming back here. How is it too early to know yet? How, in your opinion, has gambling impacted the NBA in terms of financially? Is there, I personally think the answer to this is no, but I'll ask you, is there any more risk of of say, to get a player compromised. I think the salaries are so high now, it's hard to get a player compromised. How will gambling impact when the Sonics come back and fans look at it? How much different will it be?
Great question. Yeah. Well, first, no, I don't think it can be compromised. I think, in my opinion, is what sport can something be compromised in? Mike, I would say, like, let's take a lower level tennis match. I'm not talking Roger Federer, Rafael Nadal. I'm talking guys who are ranked maybe 300th in the world, right? Something like that. And some of these offshore sites, you can bet $10,000 a shot, and maybe you could bet it 10 times, 20 times and get a couple $100,000 in a tennis match when these guys are playing for maybe a few $1,000 the winner gets. That's the kind of thing where I think something can really be messed up, is a sport like tennis where especially these lower level matches where you can get big bets down throughout a bunch of different things, and potentially these players aren't making a lot of money, and they can have something happen. But in the NBA, I would be surprised. Look, we saw with Tim Donaghy, Mike, anything is possible. In terms of how it's, look, I said this to everyone, and I'll say it on the show. To me, it was not having sports gambling, as long as we had it only in Vegas for as many years as we did, was one of the craziest things ever. Everyone likes to gamble. That's our society. That is the world. So to me, what I think what'll happen is, look, I think people, look, that's why when Roger Goodell and then whatever, we hate gambling. Now they've become the biggest gambling proponents, which wasn't hard to see, but why would they even go through the charade of making it like it wasn't good? People watch these, you think they watch the NFL games? Yeah, they maybe have their favorite team, Mike, but they're watching the games because they freaking bet on it. They're watching because of their fantasy team. Everything's gambling related. It comes down to gambling. Yeah, you root for your team, but that's one game out of 16 games on a weekend or whatnot. The other 14, 15 games, you're watching because you bet on the game. Because again, like I said, people want action. Yes, everyone wants to win, but people have that more of a craving to get that. I want to be in that game. I want that action. So when it comes for the NBA, and it is legal, Mike and Saul, and hopefully in every state and Washington or whatnot, I just think it'll lead to that much more following of the team, where people get that much more into it because they could feel more attached, because it is something they actually now can wager on.
And there's a reason that for years and years, since I can remember, when I was 4 and 5 learning to read, I was, hey, what's this? What are these things called point spreads in the newspaper? And they've been in every newspaper in America for years, even though gambling was illegal. So it's funny from that perspective. We'll take a quick break, and in our second half, we'll talk a little bit about some interesting stories that have happened along the way to all of us. Iconic Sonics, brought to you by Swinomish Casino and Lodge and Dick's Drive-In Restaurants. Iconic Sonics is proudly supported by Swinomish Casino and Lodge, and they're proud partners with Iconic Sonics. They're located on beautiful Padilla Bay, just north of Seattle. Casino, lodge, dining, entertainment, and more. Swinomish Casino and Lodge provides a perfect getaway for relaxation. A full-service entertainment destination, including a 98-room luxury lodge, multi-purpose event center, and casino, open daily from 8 a.m. to 2 a.m. with a great mix of slot machines and Las Vegas-style table games. And for the food connoisseur, check out the 13 Moons Dining Experience, one of the finest in the area, a beautiful restaurant with cuisine designed to enhance the flavors of the Northwest. Swinomish Casino and Lodge, check out the best casino in the area with the most outstanding customer service, offering a luxuriant, state-of-the-art experience while maintaining and upholding the cultural identity of the Swinomish tribe. Swinomish Casino and Lodge. Find out more at SwinomishCasinoandLodge.com. That's SwinomishCasinoandLodge.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700. Iconic Sonics is fed by Dick's Drive-In Restaurants. What can I tell you about Dick's food that you don't already know? Probably nothing. They're a Seattle legend for serving great burgers, great fries, great shakes. What I can tell you that you might not know is Dick's also has a cool t-shirt now that salutes the 95-96 NBA Finals Sonics team. Take a look at the Sonics t-shirts available through Dick's at Dick's Drive-Ins, their Twitter feed at Dick's Drive-Ins. You'll see the photos. You'll buy the shirt. You'll be happy. Thanks to Dick's Drive-In Restaurants for the support on Iconic Sonics. And our nonprofit sponsor on Iconic Sonics is the Run Freely Foundation, a 501c3 organization founded by our friend Kenny Main. It raises money to help financially support veterans who need limb salvage, medical care, and rehabilitation. Years ago, Kenny suffered a catastrophic ankle injury, and after years of pain, he found relief with treatment in 2017 that got him both walking and running again pain-free. With that discovery, Kenny wanted to help others in pain, and the Run Freely Foundation was born to help provide the care he received to those who cannot afford to cover its costs. You can find out more and get involved with this great organization at runfreely.org. The Run Freely Foundation, proud sponsor of Iconic Sonics. All right, part two of our show, the gambling show, hopefully the first of many, because as the Sonics come back, and Brad, as we were just talking, as betting becomes legal and more mainstream, not everyone will do it. There will be those who won't, but for those who do, that will be an added, I think maybe the word you were thinking about there a minute ago is entertainment. It'll just add to the entertainment value of the games. I wanted to tell a quick story, and I don't know, you guys may have similar ones to this. First of all, and I know you're a big futures guy. I've hit two great futures bets in my life, not because I have the kind of acumen you have, just because I was throwing darts and I got lucky. The one was with a couple of guys picking Tampa to win the Super Bowl in like 02. Then the next 03 was when they won. That was like 23 to 1. It was pretty decent.
I remember that. Remember that very well.
The better one, I'm going to say 95 maybe. I'm in a Vegas casino, and we're standing looking at the odds for the Daytona 500. And I'm a racing fan, and betting a race is crazy, because especially Daytona, because so many things can happen.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine's like, yeah, that one guy, he was a rookie last year, he's pretty good. And I'm like, I'm not betting him to win this race. I'm gonna bet him to win the series. And by God, if Jeff Gordon at the age of like 24 doesn't win the Winston Cup series, then the Winston Cup, and again was like 28 to 1 or something. So I'd love to say I did my research on that. The research was holding a Bloody Mary and going, I'm gonna make that bet. So it was a little different from what you do. But the story, and I don't know if you guys, the Bad Beats segment on SportsCenter with Scott Van Pelt is so much fun. It's such a great idea. Everybody who's ever gambled has a story like this. I don't know if this is a bad beat, but it's the funniest beat ever. And I'm interested in anything you guys have. It's similar. Go down to Vegas for the Super Bowl, and I think 07. And we get there Friday night with one other guy. And I'm like, listen, let's be careful, man. You come into Vegas on a Friday night, you can blow everything you have for the weekend if you're not careful. So why don't we pick an NBA game that we like? And let's bet the over. I love betting the over in any sports event because you're rooting for stuff to happen. So we pick, I think it was Suns Lakers. We pick it. We get dinner. We're sitting there watching the game. A lot of fun. We come this close to hitting it. We don't hit it. So we lose a couple $100. Not a big deal. Now, flash forward a few years later to a name you just mentioned a few minutes ago. I'm reading as the Tim Donaghy scandal unfurls, and I'm looking, let's see the games that he says he impacted. I'm like, I will be damned. There's the Suns Lakers game.
Oh my God.
From the night we got to Vegas, I'm like, I got screwed by Donaghy. I can't believe this happened to me.
It's tremendous.
So that, I think, it's my favorite gambling story ever. It is an imperfect science. But Brad, I'm sure whether it's to you personally, you probably, guys always want to tell you these stories. Let me tell you what happened to me.
I have a pretty good one, actually. It's like adjacent to the Sonics because it's Kraken themed. I beat the market for the Kraken because the opening game was insanely expensive. And I was like, I'm just going to fly down to Vegas. And for the price of my hotel, my flight, 2 tickets to the game, and placing, a couple $25 bets was what it would have cost to get into the door at Climate Pledge when it opened up. So I'd already felt like I had won. I ended up betting. I was having a lot of fun betting, first touchdown scores and then matching them with other games because they're super high odds, right? If you get DK Metcalf to score the first touchdown, it's like plus 700 or something sometimes. And, at the time the Hawks didn't have a lot of good players. So that hit. And then I took the Knights to win by 2 because I was like, the Kraken stink. 3 of their players are out in COVID. The Knights are this great team. And I was sitting next to this kid and I was wearing all my Kraken gear. And then the entire time I was just going, Knights by 2, Knights by 2. Let's go. Come on, Kraken. You stink. Like, make this happen for me. And then of course the Knights won by 1. But gosh, that 1,500, it was just, I almost had my entire trip paid for me. And that's kind of how I go about it these days. If I can pay for my trip and have fun and have drinks and hang with my buddies and like make a kid look at me like I'm a nutter because I'm rooting for the opposing team, I had a pretty great time. And that's kind of what I'm attacking. Like, I just love the parlays. I'm definitely going to do more player parlays mixed with games after this. But I think I was to a degree on a bit of a right track, at least on the fun part.
We need to get you a shirt with a big dollar bill on it. You can say, I'm rooting for this. I'm rooting for my money is what I'm rooting for tonight. That's my favorite team is my money. Brad, you got a good sad sack story for us, whether it's you or somebody. I mean, I bet you've heard a million.
I Jesus Christ, I could do a 20-hour podcast on that. I remember probably about 2007, if I had to guess. I did a parlay. It was a crazy 7-game parlay to pay $624,000, which was
wow.
a lot. Still is a lot of money. A lot of money. Significant sum. And this is before all the, saw some cash outs and stuff like that. This is back when you made a bet and you either won or you lost.
You wrote it.
And you wrote it. Yeah, you wrote it. And I remember, again, I'm now tempted of the year. If you Google, it was I remember I had the Rams were at the Saints, and the Rams had like no wins. They won at New Orleans. They're like a 5-1 underdog. I remember the Broncos were playing the Chiefs. I won that. I remember the Eagles. It was a game where Brian Westbrook slid down, didn't score the touchdown. They were playing the Broncos, and that one won. And anyway, it was all underdog parlays. So that's why it paid this crazy odds. And the last game was the Buffalo Bills were playing the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins were 0-8. It's when they had Ronnie Brown, if you remember him, the running back, and they had a quarterback named Cleo Lemon. I remember the name Cleo Lemon. And I think JP Lossman was the Bills quarterback. I am a sick, because I still remember this game. And it was 10-2. The Dolphins were winning with about, I'd say, 11 minutes to go in the game. And I remember, and I needed the Dolphins to win. It was to pay this crazy parlay. And I remember it was my nephew's first birthday party that day. And I went into to take a shower, and I just, because I couldn't hedge it or anything like that. And I literally took like an hour shower. I was like, this is life-changing money. I just went in the shower, just waiting to come out and get on my account, log in, and hoping to see this crazy sum of money in there. And I remember I get in there, the internet's not working. My wife's yelling at me, we have to go to our nephew's birthday party. I don't care about the freaking party. I'm leaving when I find out the score of this game. And I see, finally I get in, I see my account. There wasn't that much money in the account. And I'm like, oh my God. And I see they lost 13-10. And it became Ted Ginn Jr. This is when you had to watch stuff on, remember the show Inside the NFL?
Yeah, sure.
That's how you got highlights back then. And Ted Ginn, it became 10-10 right after I took a shower. Ted Ginn returned a kickoff for a touchdown. The most phantom BS holding penalty I've ever seen. I watched it 1,000 times on my replay. And then there was that was one. And I remember this other one. I made this crazy bet. This was the Miami Heat were playing the Indiana Pacers. It was game 6 of the conference finals. And I made a bet where the Heat would win the game by, don't ask me, would win the game by 25 or more, getting like, it's like 100-1 odds. It was some crazy sum of money. And it was a 27-point game with like 1 second left. Instead of just dribbling out the clock, Donald Sloan banked in a 70-foot shot at the buzzer.
I remember that.
and my son, he's like, Dad, are you going to watch a Donald Sloan shot again? I watched this shot for 2 years straight. I would just watch it so again, I don't take these things very well when I get unlucky. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. But over the long run, theoretically, if you are a good gambler, interestingly, Mike and Saul, if you are a good gambler, you're going to get unlucky far more than you get lucky. Reason being, right? You're going to be on the right side more to give you a chance to get unlucky more, right? Think of it like that. If you're on the right side more than not, there's going to be more chances for you to get unlucky because you're in the position on the right side more times. So inherently, if you're a good gambler, you actually are going to get unlucky more than you get lucky.
Brad, talk a little bit about one of your specialties is in-game betting.
Yes.
I've never had the, I don't know if it's the patience. I don't know what word it is,
Sure.
But to me, once the game starts, I've done halftime bets for Super Bowl. Obviously,
Sure.
Everybody's done that. But I kind of get locked in and go, okay, I'm just rooting for whatever side I picked or a prop or whatever. But you have pointed out on your Twitter feed often that, man, there is money to be made on in-game thing. And again, as gambling becomes easier and more legal, this will be something that will open up a lot of people's eyes. Tell me a little bit about that and how to approach it if you're new at it.
First of all, Mike, that was such a great thing what you said. You go and almost everyone is like what you just said, right? You bet a game. Let's suppose the whatever the game is, Rams versus Bengals. Oh, I love the Rams. And then you're seeing everything through that game through the Rams lens. Like
Right.
you don't even know you're biased, but you are. And it's like a fandom, right? You can't help it. You may say, oh, the Rams are getting screwed by the officials, or the Rams are getting unlucky, or everything, God is against, everything's going, you know what I mean?
God is against me.
Yeah, exactly. And so, but what's interesting is if you watch a game, okay, I give the analogy, it's a little bit like if you were to play blackjack and you were to see the dealer's hole card, it would raise your IQ quite a bit. Well, with today's world now, if you get to watch the game and you could see how it's going, like it was obvious in that game that it was going to be hard for the Bengals to protect Joe Burrow. Now, you could maybe look at the under in the game. You maybe could have looked at the Rams in the game once, in live betting or something like that. But it gives you a chance, in my opinion, to remove all such biases. You can just look at the game as an objective person without having that bias, because I think bias is what really hurts sports gamblers very, very much. And look, let's take a basketball game, Mike. I know I mentioned to you off air is, let's suppose a total in the game is 100, and a college basketball game is 140 points or whatnot, and you see that there was, let's say, 66 points scored in the first half, which is basically what it should be. But let's suppose out of those 66 points, you see that maybe the shooting percentages, the teams were shooting 58% and the other team was shooting 63%, and they still only scored 66 points. Well, that would let me know, okay, wow, these teams got to 66 are obviously playing a very slow pace. They're just shooting lights out. Is it sustainable that they're shooting 65% from three? Probably not. Doesn't mean they won't do it again. They may shoot 100%, but we're trying to do odds. What's probabilities? So if we see that maybe in a game like that I described, maybe the under in the second half is a really good bet, because it's going to be very unlikely based on the pace of the game. Again, pace is so important. When are they shooting? Is a team shooting, like 8 seconds into the shot clock? Or are they shooting 29 seconds into the shot clock, right? That's a huge difference. So I think a lot of times, especially with totals, Mike, what I like to do is I like to look at the pace of the game, see how many shots teams are getting off, whether if they're getting off a lot, I'm looking to take the over. If they're getting off not as much, I'm looking to take the under based on what the over-under is and whatnot. And also the percentages. Are the teams shooting at an ungodly, unsustainable percentage? Either way, by the way, if their teams are shooting 7 for 29 in the first half, are they going to be that bad in the second half? And especially if the over-under, if there was still, they weren't that far an under pace and the percentages were just crazy low, maybe I'll look to take the over, knowing that theoretically the mass should bounce back.
Saul, have you done in-game stuff at all?
Very little, to be honest. I've been playing around more with parlays and then just the active cashing out, like the idea of kind of taking your insurance, if you will,
right,
as well as a lot of hedging. A lot of hedging has been something that I've been working on just to try to break even or just, kind of come out ahead, because I think that's just been something that's been a big focus for me overall. I just don't get to gamble enough, right? I go back to like kind of the policies and why this isn't in place. I get really furious. Right. I had a talk radio show, where I would say it's a scam that they want you to buy a $20 scratcher where you're literally, hurting the environment with this piece of paper, tossing all that little tinfoil everywhere, and then you never win. You have no control over whatsoever, and they just won't let us kind of have this fun. And we all know it's fun, and it's better fun than a scratcher. So right. I don't know. I wish I could get to that level and be that engaged. And I would almost say, what's your call on March Madness? Because like I'm getting kind of stoked. I kind of want to go to somewhere and gamble during the first and second round.
So I say this, and I please, when I say this, I hope I'm saying, because you seem like the nicest guy of all time, and I say no, I really mean it, and I hope I'm not coming across as like a know-it-all, because please, it's really not what I'm saying, because I really try to help people. Just so you know, 99.9% of the time on those cash outs, Sal, and I want to say 100, but I can't, but I'm going to say over 99. From a math point of view, they're giving you an unfair cash out. Like if you had never done a cash out in your life, and you would have more money than you have right now. You may not.
No, I believe you 100%. My buddy actually was just telling me that he was in Colorado. He had a bet, and he said like it went to overtime, and he got nervous. He's just like, I wish I just left my phone in my pocket, because he left like $75 out there. Here's
the thing. I'll give you an example. I'm going to make it as easy. Let's take a money line game. Let's suppose you took a team. I'm going to just make it even money at plus 100. Let's suppose it was Cowboys, Eagles, and the game's it's a plus 100 bet. You bet $100 on the Cowboys plus 100. And let's just say the score of the game is 20 to 20. And they offer you on your cash out bet $40. Okay. I'm sorry, $80. Supposed to offer you $80 on your on your cash out bet. Well, if you were to bet the game live betting at that point, you could actually bet the other team probably at even money for that same $100 and actually get $100, not just the $80 they're offering you. I'd have to maybe I'm not doing a good job of explaining this, Saul. It's certainly possible. But if you're willing to actually, instead of taking a cash out, but bet the other side live, the exact other side, the other bet, the other way, the exact other way, you're going to make a lot more money. It's going to at least give you an extra, conservatively, an extra 10% more. Again, I may not be doing a good job of explaining what I'm feeling.
Well, it's like double down. It's like doing the double down when you're at blackjack, right? Like you should do it when you have that opportunity.
Well, but double down. I try not to play blackjack, but if you did, yeah, if you have an 11 against a 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, not yet, probably even against a 10, I don't know, but yeah, but when you are cashing out, again, I'll give you my number. You could show me the exact situation, and I'll bore the hell out of you with the math on it, on why they're getting the edge on you and why you should be doing a different route than what you're doing. Again, I'm really saying this. I swear to you, like, to be nice. I hope I'm not coming across any other way.
Brad, I mean, I told you I lost to Vegas for a decade and I only just kind of figured it out this year to the point of maybe breaking even. I will take any advice. I don't think I have all the rules of the game. You have so much that's already in my head. I think whoever's listening, we're all going to be better gamblers.
Like again, that example I gave, Eagles Cowboys, if you wanted to get out of your bet and they're like, oh, I put $100, I can get $80 back. I'm only going to lose 20. I'm saying if you just bet the Cowboys the other way, you instead of getting 80 back, you probably would get at least 90 back.
It's a little different though, because I'm doing parlays, right? So the cash outs on the apps are a little
parlay, okay. It is going to be,
because if I've, let's say, hit 4 out of my 5 parlays and my 5th one is one I'm just like feeling really bad about, and now I'm up, I put in 100 right, and now I'm up 300. That's what I'm kind of more talking about. Then I don't cash out when I'm down.
Okay, right. But let's just say you've won the first 4. Let's just a parlay $100. Let's say pay 1,000. I'm just throwing it out. Right. Okay, $100 to pay 1,000. You won the first 3. It's the 4th game. What I would look at is, okay, I'm either going to lose 100 or make 1,000. They're offering me a $286 cash out. Okay, so I'm going to make $186 profit. What I am saying to you is, if you took the money line of the opposite team, okay, whatever team that you needed to win, whatever the other side is, the team you're
just straight by insurance.
Instead of making $186, if you actually physically bet the other side, I'm going to say you would make $187 or more just betting the other side, as opposed to taking a cash out. You have to front your money. Okay, you have to front your money. So if you have no money in the account, you're just waiting for it to settle, then maybe you don't have a chance maybe you have no choice but to do the cash out. But you actually have money in the account sitting in there. If you bet the other side, you'll make more than $186 by doing the method I'm telling you to do, by actually just betting the other side of that such game. And again, I am more than happy to show you what I mean. And I'm not just saying,
I believe you, man. Brad, I 100% believe you. No insults.
Yeah.
Hey, Brad, when we talk about basketball betting, you mentioned earlier the Draymond Green story is a great one. I haven't heard that. Basketball, probably more than any other sport. Football, a little bit, but you'll get a guy who is pulled 10 minutes before the game or activated a half hour before the game. So that's another thing. And I remember I come at this more from a broadcasting standpoint, is trying to figure out what was going to happen in the NBA when I was covering the Sonics. How much attention do you pay to the schedule in pro basketball? Like, hey, here's a team, here's a back-to-back they've got, or hey, they've done 3 and 4 nights or 3 and 5 nights, and they've been tough games. How much should a bettor factor in that kind of information?
Well, it's funny. Great, Mike, great question again by you. And I will say this, over time, everything's, as I'm saying, we talk about efficient lines, efficient markets. It used to be 4 games and 5 nights. You were able to get a big edge over the sportsbooks because they didn't factor that in. And one of the best sporting trends, if you can Google this one, that was like in the NBA playoffs, it's called the zigzag theory. When a team were to, be down, 2 games to 0, and they come back for that home game, that game 3, and that especially in that first half, they were covering games at like a staggering, this was over like a 12-year period, like 77, 78%, because they just had, they didn't the sports books weren't accounting for the human element. The team is down 2-0 in game 3 at home. They're playing like that's a house on fire. And there would now be games where, let's suppose a team's a 4-point favorite. They wouldn't now make the first half line 4 as opposed to the first half line 2, because that was such a strong bet, such a strong trend. So I'm always looking at as much information as I can, especially in the second half. If a team's, let's say, in a 4th game in 5 nights, and maybe they kept it close for that first half, maybe I'll look to fade that team live betting in the second half. Not so much the game, but in the second half, because that's when I usually find that those tire legs show themselves. That's when I find that maybe, oh God, we just don't have it. The other team makes especially a run. I especially love doing it for a road team much more than a home team, because sometimes that home crowd just gives you a little extra boost. So I'm always looking. I always have the schedule out on my thing, how many teams that each team played in each situation, and especially again in a live betting situation. If it is a tiring situation in that second half, sometimes I will definitely look, Mike, to fade that team.
All right, Brad, I'm going to count on you to get me hip to this if it's out there. Yeah. Is there a casino offering a bet on the Sonics coming back? Because if there's no timeline on it, I will take the bet. I would pound that because I do believe that they're coming back. Yeah. And when they do, gambling and Saul, to your point, it's coming. Be patient, my man. It's coming. And eventually there'll be a chance for people to really take some of this advice in the Seattle area. And there are ways around it. Like you said, Saul, you can go to Colorado, you can go to Newark, you can go to Las Vegas and still do it. But it's for any of us, if you're a sports fan, and I'll tell you, everybody in sports pays attention to it. And I'm not saying the players and coaches have gambling problems, but they know the spread because they know what people think's going to happen. And they use 100%. That to go, hey, they're favored by 9. We're going to kick their ass tonight. We're going to show everybody they were wrong. I mean, guys, they talk about that. And not that I think they're gambling, but it's a measure, right, Brad? A measure that teams use.
Yeah, absolutely. No, listen, everyone in today's day and age, Mike and Saul, like everyone, everyone knows the spread. Everyone, it's part of our culture. It's part of our society. It's just, that's the way that the world is right now. And it's always, and by the way, again, Seattle, again, it's just such an amazing basketball tradition, so many great players throughout the years. And it was such a great, just amazing situation. I really hope, just as a basketball fan, Seattle never should have lost the team in the first place. The fact that the Kraken are there now, and you were telling me that now they have the arena, certainly would seem to lend itself, if the NBA, when they do expand next, I would have to think Seattle would theoretically have to be the first choice, first pick or whatnot. And I know it's a long day coming for you and for Saul and for everyone who's been a big, huge Seattle sports fan for many, many years. And think of how sad it is, how many young kids didn't get to see Sean Kemp, Detlef Schrempf, all the great Gary Payton, all the great Seattle players play. Because Kevin Durant was forever and a day, right?
Yeah, he was there for a year.
That's what I'm saying, forever and a day. And
Durant
people forget.
and Westbrook and Harden would have been superstars in Seattle, like cultural superstars in a way I don't think we totally understand. That was completely lost 100% in the moment. I will say, though, I'm super excited because I think Vegas is going to get a team the same time Seattle gets a team. And I mean, I go back and forth on what's the most valuable. I think courtside tickets in Vegas might be the hottest ticket in the country. So
that'll be a good one.
Well, Brad, if we're fortunate enough to get you out here on a visit, we will make Saul provide us all with Dick's Burgers, fries, and a shake.
Hey,
this is a line that I've been waiting on all day. I'll bet you'll love it.
I know. Listen, I know for a fact I'll love it. Those are my favorite food, so I accept already in advance.
Hey, good to be the only man. I've learned a lot of lessons. I hope our listeners are going to be betters like me. And Brad, no hard feelings. If I'm betting dumb, tell me I'm stupid.
No. I didn't mean. That's what I'm saying. No. I'm just saying. That's not what I meant. I didn't mean it like that. I
call
swear.
me. I'll tell you you're betting dumb.
No, he's not. No,
call anytime.
Yeah, it's just that usually when those cash outs are offered from a mathematical perspective, and I physically, I'd have to probably show you the exact situation I'm talking about from a math point of view. I base everything on math and numbers and probabilities. From a math standpoint, they're not. But again, they're not in business to giving Saul Spady or Bran Feinberg good. They're trying to theoretically get the advantage on everything they're offering. They're not offering it out of the goodness of their heart, saying, Saul, you know what? You're a nice guy. We think the Sonics should be back too. We're going to give you this good thing. They're really not. I would, because I like you. I would beat you because I'd be like, this guy's a nice guy. Yeah, I would. I like you. But from a math point of view, usually you're getting the short end of this stick.
Brad Feinberg is at Brad's Best Bets on Twitter, and something you should look up too is at BetPrepUS. That's a really cool site that Brad's affiliated with, and can help educate you a little bit, whether you're going to do a lot of bets or just one bet once in a while. The props, you'll learn a lot. Brad, thanks again for the time, and I hope we can do this again sometime. Saul, good to see you. Thanks, guys. Brad Feinberg, Saul Spady with us, our gambling edition of Iconic Sonics. It's all brought to you by Swinomish Casino and Lodge, just outside Anacortes on Highway 20, and Dick's Drive-In Restaurants. You can get more information on other shows at iconicsonics.com. I'm Mike Gastineau. We'll see you next time.